Then there are a couple of considerations within this integrated approach. As we've seen, the coach has a very clear view of tactical concepts involved. And we, sports scientists, have a clear view of performance variables. And also, we know how to translate these tactical concepts into performance variables. So this is a challenge. And the question is, are all concepts suitable for performance variables? Are they related to performance anyway? And the second consideration is that, in my opinion, the notational data, the event data, answers to the what question, what is happening. Whereas the position data provides us answers about why things happen and how things happen and how we should train if things go wrong after we understand, of course, how these tactics influence performance. And maybe a combination of this kind of data is the best way to go forward. So, to wrap things up, I would advocate to create multidisciplinary teams in which everybody works together. Coaches, sports scientists, mathematicians, software programmers. And this seems kind of logical, but in soccer this just doesn't happen. At least not in the Netherlands, and I've seen a couple of clubs in Europe, and this is just not the case. Not on a daily basis, working together, trying to understand tactics. Furthermore, I think scientifically we need a stronger focus on explanations. We now see a lot of differences between performance levels, for example. And we see difference between age groups. But we don't yet understand why this is actually the case. And finally, I think we can do much more with position data. It's mainly used for the physical domain, but we have position data of all players. So we have configurations and we can analyze them. And there are theories that provide us with tools to analyze this kind of data. So that was my presentation.
Thank you.
I'm open for questions.
Okay, let's take some questions from the floor. Just up there.
Peter O'Donoghue, University of Wales Institute, Cardiff. I'm a bit surprised that you used the centre of gravity, as it were, of the team to do an analysis on, when there are so many things that have come from practical coaching literature. There is descriptions of balanced defences by Egil Olsen. Albin Tenga has come up with an objective way in which those can be measured, all of which lend themselves to the type of data that you have here. There's two books, one on defending tactics and one on attacking tactics by Professor Bangsbo and Peterson, that talk about zonal defense, that talk about man-to-man defense, that talk about when you're defending, restricting space, when you're attacking, creating space. The validity of these things are there because they come from the practitioners and they're used. Mm. And this measure of centre of gravity that I see here, I would just question the validity of it when there's so many things that have been developed that could be implemented in the systems that we have.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. We started off with the center of gravity idea to because in our opinion that represents the general flow of attacking and defending, and not and this is a first step towards developing that measure, for example in subunits in a whole team, that might provide us with more information. And next to that, you mentioned constricting space and opening up space. I've not presented that, but I'm also looking at surface area of the whole team, for example, where we would expect an anti-phase pattern. For example, my team has the ball, then we increase interpersonal distances, and the surface area of the team, the covered area, will be large. Whereas I lose the ball, my team loses the ball, then we constrict space. And the fun thing is that I've actually analyzed Champions League matches with those measures, and then we don't see that pattern, for example. So this is something that every coach puts forward, constrict space, but it just doesn't happen. So I agree that there is a lot of expertise on the practitioner side, but I think we should also be open for input from the scientific world in that respect. Is that kind of an answer to your question?
Okay. Any other questions? Just a quick question. I have one. I always wonder, often wonder, what might happen if a club had no sports science support whatsoever, and whether that would make a big difference. And I think it would, but do you think it would make a difference, and why? Is it placebo effect in many cases, or in other ways?
I consider a sports science department as a part of professionalizing a club. For example, when you go to school, then you're objectively measured. You have to pass your exams. It's not the teacher who says, well, you can go to the next group. And I think that's where sports science can contribute to professional clubs in long-term development. But for performance, yeah, it remains to be seen. If it's only 0.5%, well, it could make the difference.
Okay, thank you very much, Wouter.
Okay.